Welcome everyone to our team training tonight. I'm super excited to have our guest speaker. I've been wanting to have her for a while now, and she was able to hop on tonight and talk to us. So everyone, this is Macy McNeely. She is the creator of a new planner it's not a new planner, but it's new to me. I got this planner called Daily Deposits, and I'm super in love with it. Because it is kind of everything that I'm all about. It has a slot for gratitude. It has a slot for personal development, which is, one of the 3 P's in our team culture. And it has like a daily to-do list of just 5 simple things, which you guys know I'm all about, not overwhelming yourself. And then affirmations. So I just loved this so much, and I wanted her to come on and just kind of talk to us about the importance of, making the most of your day and just the power of like the little daily things that we do. So I'm going to turn the time over to you, Macy, and
awesome.
You can kind of share a little bit of your backstory and all that. So take it away, girl.
Sure. So I am going to share exactly how to do this practice. I'm going to be totally honest. You don't need the journal. Like, you don't. I've done this on a napkin, on random pieces of paper for years. So I'm going to tell you the why and the how, and just the heart behind it. So let me share my screen super quick. My name is Macy McNeely. I am the creator of Daily Deposit, and I am the co-founder of Clearly Confident, which is rebranding soon, but for now it's Clearly Confident, which is a communication sales training. I believe every single person in the entire world is in sales. It's simply a way to kind of guide people into buying decisions, right? I mean, Kelly here, she has a group of people that she's getting to buy into, which is all of you, this team, right? Buy into what the possibility of what you could have if you become successful in this business. So I really think Daily Deposit is going to be a huge game changer for you as you are growing your business and your life. So first, I just want to remind you to ask questions, throw them in the chat box as I kind of go through, and at the very end I will answer those. So we are really going to talk about personal growth. I love that she said that personal development is one of your 3 P's. It's the craziest thing because you guys are like the 1%. I mean, so many people don't even really know what personal development is. And it has been really surprising to me. Just the more I'm in this industry, the more I'm like, wow, most people don't know really what it is. And I love this quote. This is my favorite thing. It's you can change what you are, and you can change who you are by changing what goes in your mind. And that is what personal development is. It's the input. It's the things that you intake. It's TV, it's music, it's podcasts, it's books, it's conversations with people. It's just people being in your life. That's how you kind of change who you are. In fact, when you take in personal development, it becomes a part of your subconscious. Did you know that our brain is 87% subconscious? 87%. And even our conscious thinking is heavily flavored with our subconscious. And the way our subconscious is built is by the things that we implant into our minds over time. And it's so crucial to be so intentional with that. My husband and I, we really we protect our home from toxic input like no other. I mean, we watch like one TV show, The Office, because we know it's not going to be like wildly inappropriate and a lot of, bad language and sarcasm and things that like hurt people. We know it's just kind of light humor. So that's what we watch. We don't really watch the news. Another thing we try to do is we try to watch our language. We try not to, just keep it clean in the house and just be really respectful of each other, just to keep our input really, really intentional. So remember, your input is anything that you intake. And I just want you to take a second to think about your input right now. Like is like Jerry Springer on his background, right? Or like those scary horror things that just don't make you feel good. Or is it the personal development books? Is it the podcast? Is it the things that make you feel good? So personal development, you guys know what it is, but I love telling the story. This is my husband, Austin. When I first met him, I don't know if you guys, like, you get a feel from somebody. He was super shy. And I could tell he was a little insecure and just kind of a nervous person, but I could see the heart. Like, I could tell that it's like a home. The bones of the house are good. It just needs a little fixer-upper, right? And so I knew he was just a good catch, and we got married, and I was like, hey, we are going to work on our personal development together. I was starting my business. He was kind of really getting into his, and I was like, we're going to read these books together. We're going to talk about them, and we're going to grow, okay? If I have anything to do with it, we're going to grow. And it's been so cool because over time, I have watched him change completely. He is now one of the most confident people in the room. He can talk to anybody. He takes risks, and he's making incredible sales, and he is being an incredible leader because he has changed who he is. And I love kind of reminding him, like, hey, remember the old Austin before you met me, and how your life has drastically changed. And it almost like breaks my heart because he's like, you know what? I am kind of frustrated because nobody told me about this earlier. No one told me about personal development and how it really could change me. And that always kind of bothered me. And so that's kind of why I started this practice, the daily deposit practice, because it is the roadmap to developing that winner inside of you. Like, I really believe that Austin that he is now, that's the winner inside of him that's always been there. It really has. It's just he needed a little bit of that motivation, that inspiration, and those kind of like techniques almost of how to be the winner inside of you. And daily deposit really does help you do that. So I'm going to walk you through what you can do starting tomorrow on a piece of notebook paper to kind of kickstart your productivity and your self-esteem. So the first part is gratitude, as she said. But the thing about gratitude, I kind of feel like it's a little bit saturated. Like, everybody's talking about gratitude. Do you guys feel that way? It's just like a very, very hot topic, and it's kind of like eye roll, like gratitude. But there's a huge reason why it is, because it really gives you a peace in your heart. It's scientifically proven that when you're in a state of gratitude, it is impossible to be in a state of anxiousness. And when you acknowledge what you're grateful for, right, it's just kind of something that you see more often throughout your day. And at the end of the day, whatever you dwell on, it grows. So if you choose to dwell on what you're grateful for, that gratitude is going to grow and reduce your anxiety and stress. Okay, the next is personal development. So guys, when I started getting super intentional with personal development, I couldn't get enough. I mean, I was like devouring it. Any webinar, anything I could find, any Instagram live, any conference that I could afford to go to, I was just there. And I could feel myself taking in all this information, taking it all in, but I like couldn't retain it. I don't know I was so frustrated by that because I wanted to kind of like recite it to people of what I've learned, and I like couldn't do it. I couldn't remember. And so I did some research on the brain. I'm like, why am I not remembering the stuff that I'm learning? Why isn't it internalizing in my brain? And I learned that when you don't repeat something, if you don't write it down, and if you don't memorize it, you forget within 1 hour. 1 hour. That's just the craziest thing to me. Your brain, the connections double. They go from 1,300 to 2,600 when you learn something new, and then it goes back to 1,300 within 1 hour. And so I was like, okay, how can I repeat the things that I am learning? And so I started to create a list on my phone. This is just like 2 screenshots of it, but it's just bullet points of concepts or principles that I want to internalize. And once I write them in my phone, when it's time to do my daily deposit, I'll pull out my phone and I'll just kind of pick a bullet point or concepts that I want to remember, and I'll write it down in my daily deposit. I went through the last week or so of my daily deposit, and these are just a couple of things I wrote down. What you do off the job determines how far you go on the job. I just thought that was so good. My favorite thing ever is this one right here. I have built what I feel like my whole training around this one quote right here. Knowledge gives confidence. Confidence gives enthusiasm, and enthusiasm rules the world. 90% of sales, I'm going to be totally honest with you, 90% of sales is enthusiasm. And enthusiasm is not bouncing off the walls. Enthusiasm is a deep, deep belief in what you do. But the way you grow enthusiasm, or at least one way that you grow enthusiasm, is through product knowledge. Just knowing more about your product and the ingredients of your product. I'm used to other companies with ingredients in their stuff. But it's a huge part of growing enthusiasm. It grows your confidence. And then when you have confidence, you're going to have enthusiasm, and then enthusiasm is going to rule your world. And just because of that one personal development quote that I wrote in my phone, I wrote on my daily deposit, and then every time I walked by my daily deposit, I just kind of would dwell on that little principle. And the more I thought about it, I think about it in the shower, I think about it when I'm going on runs, and as I'm falling asleep, I'm like, that is so powerful. But if I didn't have my daily deposit, I would have just skimmed over it. And I would have never thought twice about it. I would have thought, that's a good concept. But I wouldn't just it has changed me. It wouldn't have changed me like it really has now at this point. I'm really picky. I'm really picky about my personal development. So I have like a Macy approved book list or personal development list on my website. You can go to the favorites and go to books, and they're all linked there. This is the books with the right heart, with the right spirit, with the right intent and mindset that I just really, really, really love. Okay, the next part is your affirmations. Affirmations awaken your subconscious. They awaken who you could be. Remember, that subconscious is 80% of your brain. And it awakens it. So my example, I love this example. When I was in my last job, they just loved personality tests. They gave me every test you could possibly imagine. And then they were weighed really heavy on the results, right? That was just like a very important factor in anything that we did. And when I took these tests, I was so young. Like in some of these tests, I was still in college, right? And I was just so unsure. I was so unsure about my life. And so I just always kind of ended up in the middle of the spectrum. And what I learned about being in the middle of the spectrum is you are an adapter. And there's a lot of good things about being an adapter, right? You can get along with a lot of people. You can, adapt to different situations. You can handle situations. But some bad things are you choose not to be in front of people. You are not that great at decisions. And you don't enjoy being a leader. I remember those three vividly. And that wasn't a huge deal for me in the moment. And then I quit my job, and guys, I was so paralyzed. So I had like a huge pull in my heart. I just had this desire to quit and to start my business. That was just like what I know I had to do. And so I quit my job, and I sat down at my desk, my home office, and my first day, and I just was paralyzed, right? And I ended up that first week in bed, just all day long. I laid in bed, and I was just like, I don't know. It's just all these thoughts of what I thought that I was. It stopped me. And after a week went by, I said, okay, enough's enough. I'm going to take a walk. I'm going to listen to a podcast. I'm going to start fresh. And so I just picked up my phone. I kind of scrolled, and I just picked a podcast, and it was about affirmations and how they literally change who you are. And so I thought, I'm going to try this. I'm going to try this out and see if it works. So I came inside, and I started to pick on the trait that bothered me the most, which was decision making, that I struggled making decisions. And so I wrote different ways that I wanted to make decisions. So I said, I am decisive. I am a strong decision maker. I can trust my gut when I'm making decisions. I am a great decision maker. And I would write those in all different ways, and I would write them on the mirror. I would say them in the mirror. I would write them kind of before I would get up to go to the bathroom or get a drink of water. I'd write them again when I sat down. And even more importantly, when I wrote them down, I imagined myself and I felt what it felt like to be a decision maker. So I would write, I am decisive, and I pictured myself and I felt what it felt like to have such a huge amount of confidence in what decision makers would feel like. They would feel so decisive, right? And I would write down, I trust my gut when making decisions. And I would feel what it would feel like to have a gut of what it would be like to be able to trust it. Because at that point, I really didn't have anything to trust. And I did this over time. And as time went by, it kind of faded, and I started to write other affirmations. And I will never forget, I run my sales business with my dad. And he came over a couple of years later. I had moved. It was just a different season. And I was doing a couple of things with him, and we were doing some like admin stuff for the business. And as he was leaving, I will never forget, he said, Macy, he said, you are an incredibly strong decision maker, and that is a leader. And he, at that point, had no idea that I had been working on that trait for so long. The power of affirmations and feeling what that would feel like. It's basically like visualizing with emotion the feeling of what you want to become. Oh my gosh, the power of that is compounding. And if you start now, there's no telling where you will be down the road. The Daily Deposit, it does have a affirmations guide, which is a good place to start. A lot of people struggle with like, hey, I don't really know what I want to be. And that's okay. And so this is a great place to start. There's 3 sections for your relationships, how to be desirable, and then the winner that you are meant to be. The last part we have here is the game day list, okay? I love thinking about how we are in the game of life, okay? I grew up an athlete. This just gets me really excited. I love this. And when I started my business, I will never forget having this long of a to-do list, and they were all like such difficult things. It wasn't like, put the dishes away. It was like, hey, create a website, like a huge deal, right? And I just kept putting the hard things off to the next day, into the next day, into the next day. And I'd end the week with a huge list of hard things. And it was so defeating that I just would not do it, really. And when enough was enough, I was like, okay, 5 things. I'm going to choose 5 hard things, and I'm going to give it my all. And now these 5 things are going to look different for each person, and it's going to look different for each day. They might not all be business related, right? They might be like, hey, I have not made exercising a priority, and I want it to be such a natural part of my life. And so that might go on your game day list every day for an entire year until it's naturally coming to you, right? On a Saturday, a lot of time my game day list is household stuff that's really hard for me to do and that I honestly don't want to do. But typically during the week, it's work stuff. It's difficult writing tasks or creative tasks or admin tasks that are really, really hard, but I fight as hard as I can to get them done. And I love my tracking system that goes with the game day list is the win or the lose. If you get all 5 things done, then you win the game. You win it. But if you don't, you get an L. Now, the L is not discouraging at all. In fact, you need some L's, because if you don't get L's, then you're not challenging yourself enough. But here's the way you should picture it. You're playing tennis. It's July in summer in the South, and it's so hot. And you're playing this girl that's about equal in skill level, right? So it's a mental game. And you hit it back and forth and back and forth, and you are playing for so long, and you're coming up on your 3rd hour. And it's the last shot, and you hit it in the net. You lose the match. Now, even though you lost, you walk off that court, and you are so proud, because you gave it your all. And that is the heart behind the W/L. It's that you can lay your head on your pillow knowing you fought as hard as you could for that W. Even if you got an L, you still grew immensely. And I just want you to think about what if just for 30 days you experienced the peace of gratitude. and what you dwelled upon grew. And so your gratitude and your sense of anxiety started to fade away. Or what if you just dwelled on a couple of personal development statements for 30 days. And not only did you learn them, you internalized them, which allowed them to change you. Or what if for 30 days you focused on awakening your subconscious and you wrote one affirmation down every day, even if it was the same exact one, just like I did, that I want to focus on so much, how that could change your life. Or you picked 5 hard things. Every day for 30 days, you picked 5 hard things and you did everything you could to get them done. It would be life-changing. Those 30 days could change everything. I would love to give you a gift. I have these really cute Go to School bookmarks that I want to mail you in the mail. If you want to text Go to School 66866 and you will plug in your mailing address, and we're going to send you a bookmark to go with your daily deposit. Even if you don't have a journal, it's how you can kind of gather all of your little notes that you have. So that is all that I have for you. Do y'all have any? Let's see. I saw one question pop up. Let's see.
Can I chime in before we?
Oh yeah.
Questions?
Of course.
I loved that so much. I love all this. It's like
good.
I'm so passionate about this because it can be life-changing, and it's so helpful when you are struggling. And like I've told my team, last month was a rough month for me, and
yeah.
I was using this daily deposit planner, and it really helped me. And like you said, you don't have to use the planner to do these things, but it was so like I wrote down like, okay, so for affirmations, I wrote down like, I am strong, I will stay on the treadmill, and that was more like symbolic. Different affirmations that helped me sort of fight my inner mean girl, right? And fight those brain bullies that we have.
I will say the perks of having the journal is being able to do what Kelly is doing right now and flip through and kind of see your progress and it becoming more like a keepsake. There's a lot of power to going back and reflecting through all of your growth like you're doing right now. It's really special.
That's true. That is such a good point. And then it was cool. It's also cool to go back and look and say, like, just looking for little things. I think when you start writing down what you're grateful for, it makes you look for what you're grateful for more often.
For sure.
And so I would have to pause. I mean, like, I don't know about you guys, but like when I start my day and I'm about to like jump into life and work and all that, it's like, there's so much to do, right? So it's really nice to have an excuse to like sit down and pause and reflect for just and just think of 3 things you're grateful for. And so like I wrote like dancing and talking to my daughter and exercise and my husband being so supportive and little things like that, my assistant and things like that. And you just feel positive feelings. And I think it then affects your day and it affects how you go about your game day list. So, and I know I read somewhere that studies show when you are grateful, when you have a gratitude journal, studies show that people generally say they are happier, that they report being happier.
Absolutely. That doesn't surprise me 1 second. It's so true.
I also love what you said about taking notes. So I hope you guys are taking notes on this so you don't forget it an hour later.
Oh yeah.
Take notes.
It's so crazy the way your brain works. You just forget things and that makes sense. Like life is crazy. You move on to the next and move on to the next. But I'm a huge believer in memorization, writing things down, repeating it, having different forms of repetition. It's huge. Yeah. That podcast, that real quick, let me answer this for her real quick. That podcast that I listened to, I've been asked that before. It was probably 5 years ago that I just like randomly found it. I have looked for that podcast since Daily Deposit started and I cannot find it. I'm so sorry. So I listened to so much that it's hard to kind of keep track of everything.
Right, that's why you got to write it down, right?
Exactly. At that point, I didn't know.
And you know, a lot of us listen to podcasts or books, which makes it a little trickier to write things down. So I loved your idea of having like just a note section on your phone where maybe after you're driving or after you're
So I typically do this when I like do housework. I do laundry and cook and clean or whatever, but it forces me to actively listen for concepts. And then when I do, I just like pause everything. I pause the podcast, I go to my notes, and I just type it real quick. Is worth the extra time that's added to that. So I don't really do that when I'm driving. I don't like write things down, but I try to do, or when I go on walks or whatever, I definitely do.
Yeah, I just meant like after you're done driving, you can sit down and quickly take notes or never text while driving.
Yeah. So the daily deposit journal actually came out before the Start Today journal. I didn't even know about it. So yeah.
Oh, someone's comment says it sounds similar to Rachel Hall's Start Today journal.
Yeah, it came out before. I launched it right before.
Nice.
Yeah.
Any other questions, y'all? I think this was just a really good reminder. I think I'm constantly talking to my team about consistency. I think that's everything. And I just love that this is not just a to-do list, but it's a way to like consistently grow as a person and even look back and like track your progress, you know?
It's so fun. And the heart behind the name Daily Deposit is making that deposit into your personal growth bank. And that compounds in such a huge way. It's the little bit you do every single day. It's a game changer.
Totally. I had one question. What are some of the, and I don't know if there's any you can think of right now, but what conferences besides, I mean, obviously these ladies need to go to the Color Street conference because that's going to be amazing. But
the what conference?
Oh, just our company.
Oh, company conference. Okay, yes.
Besides that one, what are some of your favorite conferences that you've been to or that you're looking forward to? Like, personal development conference.
Yeah. So I love anything Entree Leadership. ENTRE leadership is really, really good. Being a part of masterminds, I'm a part of a mastermind right now that is a game changer. It all depends. Here's what you have to remember though, okay? A conference that's going to be like, I don't know, $100, LeaderCast is also really good, $100, $200 to get in. They are going to sit there and be like, rah, rah, you've got this, go girl. They're going to like cheer you on, right? But something that's a little bit a higher ticket item, they're probably going to be more of like the how to do it, like the concepts or the techniques or the systems. They're going to give you more of the how versus the you can do it. A lower end ticket, they're probably going to say you can do it. Oh, and here's my book to buy, or oh, here's my whatever to buy. Oh, here's my course to buy to get more info. So I am always going to be an advocate for a higher ticket conference, right? Like I budget $10,000 a year minimum for personal development, minimum for any kind of like a higher ticket item conference that's going to be a little bit more tangible than just a motivational type of thing. Now, motivational is needed. In fact, I think it only lasts about 24 hours when you get motivated. Like you need it every single day, right? So but the other part of a conference is just being surrounded by like-minded people is a game changer. So if you can just get in a room with people that are like you, oh my gosh, it just fills you up. And so that might be worth the $200 ticket that you pay, that you might just get motivation, but not necessarily like the meat. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that totally makes sense.
Yeah. So I get nervous like saying which ones because everybody's so different depending on what you need. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And we do have one. We have a leader mastermind. I'm glad you mentioned masterminds because I think you can learn so much just from each other. And so,
oh my gosh, it's crazy. Yes.
So, which is another reason why you should attend conferences because it's so great to like connect with one another and get ideas from each other and build,
Mm-hmm.
network with each other. And I love that you mentioned investing in personal development, like spending the money on the book, the audio book, the conference. Like, I always recommend investing like 10% of your income back into your business. And that is a big part. I mean, a big portion of that 10% should be personal development,
Yeah. And, the thing I mean, to go back to sales training, you could have the best product in the world, but if you don't know how to properly sell it, nothing's going to happen. I mean, I could have the best landscaping company ever, but if I sit in my house and just hope and wish and pray that somebody comes knocking on my door asking me to do their yard, I don't have a business, right? Mm-hmm. That's where the money is. And so if you can learn how to like properly sell and communicate with people, that's what's going to take you to the next level. And I also will say, never once have I ever spent money that I, up until recently, honestly, but when I first started, I've never spent money that I, quote, had for personal development. Like my first investment was $1,000, but after a couple of months, I made $10,000 off of that $1,000 investment, right? But in that moment, I didn't have it. In that moment, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so scary. It's so scary. But I actually executed what I learned in the $1,000 that I spent. Typically, people spend money and they don't do the work behind it. Yeah. Shoot, I definitely did. And so don't be too frightened by what you have right now. If you put in the work, you will make it back. You will. You just will. Totally. You have to. Yeah. So that's my perception, but I'm also a little bit more of a risk taker where I'm like, I'm going to go all in and go for it, Amen,
girl. No, it's true. But I mean, the girls that went to that very first conference are now killing it, because they invested in themselves. They took a risk. They met friends that they're, still friends with and that they're learning from. And it's just anytime you invest in yourself, it's always worth it.
Oh my gosh. Growing up, my dad was so frugal. I mean, he hardly spent money on anything, but the one thing he would spend money on is putting me in any kind of educational thing that I wanted to be in. He didn't ask a second what the price was of anything. I was like, hey, I want to go to this to learn. It was like, how much? Here's the money. He was not frugal in any kind of educational, personal development. And it's the best thing he could have ever done for me. And it's the best thing you could do for yourself.
Yes, that kind of goes back to your favorite quote and kind of your mission where you said knowledge gives confidence, and enthusiasm rules the world.
Oh, that's right, sis. That is right.
So we're going to end on that note. But I really appreciate your time, Macy. It was so
welcome.
And you guys can find Macy on Instagram at Macy McNeely. And her website's also macymcneely.com.
So, hey, and if y'all have any questions that you didn't ask, just message me on Instagram. I'm happy to talk with y'all if you need any help.
Yeah, this is so good. Everyone's saying, I love this. I'm totally going to try it. So,
yay, I'm so glad. So glad.
Thank you all for joining us. Bye, guys.
See y'all. Bye.